what is the true seriousness or a true sincerity? Like, how do we find it?
You don't find it. It is sincere in itself for you to say that it is lacking. That's more sincere than the vast majority of people.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Do successful people understand truth better than unsuccessful people?
It depends, number one, what you mean by success. And number two, a person who has reached the truly elite levels of his craft, they likely understand some truths with regard to getting there in that particular craft far better than those who don't.
Hi.
Hello.
Is truth gradual or sudden?
It's a good question. I think what is gradual is the desire to seek the truth. But when the truth arrives, it is sudden. But it isn't one truth. It's many truths, according to the situation.
Hi. Thank you for taking my question. My question is, can it be possible to live a life of freedom and truth without first having achieved financial independence?
The only way that would happen is if you were willing to live in a cave or a jungle or somewhere where you didn't have to sustain yourself or a family. Then it would be possible. But if you live in the world and if you live in society, feeding your stomach is far more critical and acute than feeding your soul.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening. Is there anything to be learned from elite and mastery level people?
No.
Thank you.
Hello. What is the special speaking that occurs when one begins to live in possibilities rather than knowledge or concepts?
That's a very intellectual question. I'm not sure I even understand what you're asking.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Kapil. I recently found myself in a remarkable state of flow and have had a bunch of anxiety show up around falling out and losing it. Curious if you have thoughts around managing, sort of sitting on the wave, but then having apprehension of the wave crashing.
So you look at the flow as a pleasure experience. Human beings are experience chasers. That's why they meditate and do mindfulness and practice all these nonsensical prescriptions. So the state of flow isn't a place to try to live. It is the understanding that where these things come from, as opposed to chasing them like a pleasure chase.
Hi, Kapil. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
How would you define the difference between peace of mind and peace from mind?
There is no such thing as peace of mind. There's only peace from mind.
Hi, Kapil. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for taking my question. Why do I feel that my heart is not in sync with my mind?
The heart can never be in sync with the mind. If the heart is wild, the mind is fabricated.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I hope I'm audible. My question is simply, how do I make myself more focused and productive? And
you can't make yourself more of anything. That's all self-development and self-improvement nonsense. You can't make yourself anything. It's about learning why you're not.
Hi, Kapil. Hope you're doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a difference between the flow state and death?
Well, I don't know. I mean, what's the difference? Are you going to die in order to compare? I mean, there's no practicality to that question, so it's irrelevant.
Hi, Kapil. I wanted to ask, reading Borges, I found this quite interesting that he said he cannot... reading Jorge Luis Borges, I found this question that I've been thinking about a lot. He says that I can imagine a universe without space, but not without time.
Time is not truth.
Hi, my question is, what's the relationship between mathematics and truth? Thank you.
It's a fair question. I suppose that mathematics does reveal some truth, but I don't really know right now to go into which context that would be.
Good evening. How are you?
Good.
Why is it that all these billionaires, whenever we ask them a question. They say follow your passion with all this bullshit, and it seems like passion is never the answer. Thank you.
Well, number one, I sense a tone of animosity against the wealthy. Number two, everything has a context behind it. So just telling someone to follow your passion, it isn't. There's no detail in that. I think the greatest problem comes when, for the person having sought advice from them, there's no advice and mentorship. Those things go nowhere.
I don't have a question. I want to expose myself to more of your writings.
Okay.
The private discourses. Since 2018, I think I've sent emails consistently.
Well, then maybe your pledge wasn't accepted. I don't know. I get thousands of emails.
No.
Hey, so there are situations where I feel profound pain, and I want to remember that for the next time, so that I sort of don't put myself in that situation or trust that person, etc. But every time, I just seem to forget how I feel. I can intellectually know what it feels like, but yet I'm okay to forgive and start afresh. And I
Okay.
just
Are you ready for the truth? Are you ready for the truth?
Yeah.
I don't think. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Any relationship that you have for the rest of your life will bring you far greater pain than joy.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Don't you think that hope adds meaning to life?
Wait a minute. Stop. When you begin with "don't you think," that sounds like you want me to agree with something. And I have no interest in agreeing with anything. So that isn't a comment. I mean, that isn't a question. That's a comment in the form of a question.
Hi.
Hello.
Why every relationship we have will bring more pain than joy?
Well, you have to examine your own experience. And if you have found in your own experience that isn't true, then you should completely disregard the words.
Is there a question that you're searching for in life, and what would that question be?
No, my life is devoted to the truth.
So I suppose my question would be, if I believe I'm the one, I don't understand what I'm waiting for, and I don't know if I'm waiting for like the next life or whatever iteration, but I don't know why I'm not. It's almost like there's a difference between knowing and doing the thing, and that's something I can't reconcile, if that makes sense.
Yeah, doing is irrelevant. The doings all happen by themselves. Your level of sincerity and seriousness has not reached a fever pitch.
What is the best example that you can be for a child?
I would say devoted to discovering your own self-conflicts.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for giving me opportunity. So my question is, does neutrality help oneself to become detached to love, hate, or maybe good or bad?
No, because that's just a trick. That's just a prescription.
Thanks for inviting. How do you balance ambition and the search for truth in your life?
You don't balance anything. You are moved by the thing that you're moved by. There is no balance.
I understand that I am insincere. Understanding what will make me sincere, Master?
The genuine understanding that you're insincere is your only hope of one day becoming sincere. But chasing the sincere,
I didn't get you.
Understanding that you are insincere is your only hope of one day possibly becoming sincere. But if you chase sincerity, you'll never find it.
Hey, Kapil.
Hello?
My question is, how is truth related to freedom?
Well, there can only be freedom in truth. There can't be freedom in lies.
Hi, Kapil. How do you live in a society and still be okay with the truth? Thank you.
Well, there's no how to anything. One doesn't have to leave society to discover the truth. One has to discover what moves him or her the most. And if it is society, then it is.
Hi, my question is, how do I prioritize when there are many things that move me?
All things don't move you equally.
My question is, what would you want a 23-year-old, or what truth would you want a 23-year-old to know?
I wouldn't want anyone to know anything.
All right, thank you.
Hello,
Kapil.
Hello.
Hi. I have a question about the talk you gave about prescriptions. So, how do you balance living in a world where there is an equal importance of structured thinking versus unstructured?
What do you care what the world is? It's all about what comes from you. It's all about what matters to you.
Hi, Bill. I wanted to know why do you do these sessions, or what do you gain from these sessions?
I have no idea. They just kind of do themselves.
Hi, Kapil. Can pain and truth coexist?
It's a good question. Usually, when one recognizes or one sees the truth, it is so wildly counter to what one has always believed that it often does cause pain. And in fact, it's so uncomfortable which is one of the central reasons why humans aren't interested in it.
Hi, Kapil.
Well,
my question for you is, what is the role of humor and laughter in a serious person's life?
Well, it seems like you're asking for permission to have humor and laugh. Is that correct?
Yes, I've read a lot of your stuff, and I just always am curious if that's...
So humor and laughter mean something to you, and there's no right or wrong or good or bad. And if that means something to you, then it does. But truth is not about socialization, and truth is not about happiness, and truth is not about pleasure. But having said all of that, none of that means anything. All that matters is what's actually beating inside your heart.
Hi, Kapil. My parents are going to die someday. And I fear that day very much. How do I?
There's no how do you do anything.
If one is serious about finding the truth, how much can one factor in truths such as mathematics and hard sciences, or is that a subjective search?
I mean, science can reveal some truths that are related to the science, but science cannot reveal ultimate truths. Science can look inside a microscope and discover the microbes that are responsible for a particular disease, and that would be a truth. But science cannot discover the cosmos, and science cannot discover the nature of the mind and the nature of truth and what human beings truly are and what freedom truly is. Those are way beyond the realm of the scientist or the scientific mind. Well, if they were those things, they wouldn't be truth.
Hello. Thanks for inviting me up to the panel again. I was just wondering, how do you know when you have conquered your mind, or how do you know when
you're in complete freedom, total freedom?
Is everything it is as it should be, the same as the truth?
Everything is everything for a reason. Whatever is in a person's life is, and that the thing that is, and therefore it is truth. That which is perceived, that which is interpreted, that which is viewed, that thing that is, when it is viewed as being this or that, or good or bad, or right or wrong, and needs to be changed or improved, or it's really, that is where the untruth comes in.
Yes, so I understood it correctly.
I didn't know if you answered my question while you were on mute, or you hated it. My question was, in a finite amount of lifespan a person has, what is the purpose seeking?
There is no purpose. There's no purpose. If you have a choice of whether to seek truth or not, then it isn't for you.
It's taken me a little while, but I'm starting to realize the futility of things. And I was just wondering if it's a chase just to seek more truth.
It can be, if you're seeking truth in order to find pleasure. If you're seeking truth because you think it's good for you or healthy or it's going to lead you to some happiness.
No, it's not that. It's just automatic at this point.
Okay, well then, doesn't sound like a chase.
Hi, I had one question. Like when you say like your mind is not you. So when I get tired, like I often get tired, I can't distinguish whether it's me or it's my mind. If it's my mind, I turn out to be really tired.
Yeah, that's a good question. Fatigue is all in the mind. Now there absolutely is bodily fatigue as well, but neither the body or the mind is you. The you is an entirely different topic.
Hi, Kapil. In one of your tweets, you mentioned that truth will be paradoxical. Can you please elaborate on that? Like, what would that experience
Well,
be?
everything that you believe and everything that you think and everything that you have an opinion about and all that you've been taught and all the things that society has told you and all the things that the people in your profession have told you and all the things that the experts have told you and all the self-help books and all the self-development books and all the spirituality and all the gurus and all the media, it's all nonsense. Truth is entirely opposite of all of those things. Therefore, it's paradoxical.
Can you describe the state of freedom? How does one know they're in that state?
And when one is in a state, when one has reached freedom, there is no anxiety, there's no suffering, there's no conflict, there's no pain.
Is experience truth?
No.
Do you have to destroy the self completely to attain freedom?
You can't destroy what doesn't exist.
You know, with freedom, there's no anxiety, there's no conflict, there's no pain. But is it that the perception of those things doesn't exist anymore and we still perceive them in that way? Or are they just like gone?
No, there's no reason for them to exist. That's why they don't exist.
Do you need to experience a certain level of suffering in order to have the overwhelming desire for the truth?
There's no such thing as you need to. There's no rules. Typically that does happen.
Hey Kapil, thank you for taking my question. My question is the truth that we seek while living in this materialistic world and what we're discussing now, could it be mapped to maybe moksha or nirvana or mukti from Eastern philosophies? Because even they speak of eternal bliss and being completely free from ourselves and everything around the world.
Those are just different names for it. Mukti and nirvana, these are all different words for ultimate freedom.
Hi, I wanted to ask your thoughts on being a father and how that works into the seeking for truth, whether they can coexist or if I'm sort of better waiting until the end of my householding days to get on the road.
Seeking truth doesn't mean that you need to go live in a cave. If there's anything at all that can be left for a child, there is nothing more valuable than truth.
I have a question. I think it's two, but it's related. Is there such thing as soulmate? And how do you know when you've met someone for you?
I think that's largely a cultural creation, but maybe there is. I'm not sure.
Hi. Why have humans come up with the concepts and rules such as right and wrong, good and evil?
Well, society itself is just a concept. All it knows is intellectualizations and categorizations in school and designations and textbooks and labeling things this and that and segregating and separating things into different compartments in which they teach you the different things which are all interrelated, but they're treated as if they're all different. So human beings just know intellectualization. That's all that they're interested in. No one's interested in the truth. Therefore, they occupy themselves by creating false concepts in order to live in the world and live in illusion.
So I had a question. In my life, I feel like I have about 10 things that I don't want to do before I can do the 2 things that I do want to do. Is there any way to live to where everything you want to do, you can do?
It's always been that way. You don't have to do anything.
Hey, appreciate it, Dr. Kapil. Do you believe in clairvoyance, clairaudience, and claircognizance or precognition, or no?
It's not a matter of whether I believe in it or not. I think such things do exist. I think it's been demonstrated that some humans have those capabilities, and quite honestly, it may very well be that all humans have that capability. However, it is it's covered over by living society.
I have a question regarding where truth is realized or actualized. If you say that the mind and the self are illusion, where is truth realized? Is it in the mind?
For you,
is it in the self of the body?
Well, for you, truth would be realized in first seeing the fallacy behind the notion of you trying to believe what I say. That you made the statement that I say that truth is not in the mind and it's not in the self. I think I think the fact that you're taking that on faith or on belief, that's untruth. You must examine that for yourself to see if you see that it in fact is not in the mind and not in the self, as opposed to just piggyback on what I said.
What is not a concept? What is it that we
That's
are
an
like
excellent
chatting?
question. That's
And
probably
is this also a
that's probably the
concept?
best question of the night so far. You're precisely correct, and the fact that you have asked that question raises the possibility that you actually could be ready to discover the truth. Everything is a concept. There is nothing in your life that isn't a concept, from happiness to pain to joy to mind to relationship to better and good and bad and wrong and right. Everything that a societal human being knows, that thinks he knows and thinks about and considers and dwells upon and does and opines and believes and chats about, it's all concepts.
So if you scrape everything, right? Like literally everything, like the basic thing that I guess most, what is it? Let's just say like I have a fear and I sort of got rid of it, or if not got rid of it, but sort of, it's no longer there, let's say. And there's another layer though, like I'm working for something and I got rid of the fear when I'm working for something. But again, the thing that I'm working for itself is another concept. So like, how do you, I don't actually ask how, but
what you must come to the realization about is why you are pursuing the thing that you are pursuing. Not that you have to give it a good reason, but there doesn't need to be a why. That's not why you look for the reason that you're doing it. It isn't to find a purpose. The only reason that you would examine why is to discover that if it is a pleasure chase. That's what you want to discover, because if you discover that, then you know that it will lead only to pain. Good question.
Everyone have an organic desire to seek truth if they weren't subject to social conditioning and things like that?
Good question. If a human being was raised in a jungle, he would live a natural life. He would live off the land. He would not be exposed to constructs. The more human beings that a person comes across, and the more societal elements that a person is exposed to, the further and further he moves away from truth, and the more certain it becomes that untruth will be his permanent state.
Hi. Based on what you said with regards to all these constructs in society, it makes me think that searching for truth means getting rid of those concepts.
No. If one searches for truth, if he does it because he should, he's wasting his time. If he does it because he has to, then he has to. But the truth isn't the end. The truth isn't trying to get away from anything. The truth is actually the only thing that exists.
Hello, Dr. Gupta.
Hello.
Question about, is truth really an endpoint, or is it really a gateway to a lot of other gateways?
That's a conceptual question. I mean, it has no meaning. Truth leads to it. Truth is the only thing that leads to an endpoint.
But how does a person really understand if they've really reached the truth? Because it might be just disguised as another thing that you conceived or perceived as truth so far.
There are some things within a human being that has the tentacles and the receptors to know, that is beyond the intellect, and that is beyond the scientific mind, and that is beyond questioning, discussion.
Do the free and the truth knowers, do they use concepts and constructs as tools, knowing that they're using them as tools?
No, they don't have any need for constructs, because They don't because they know the direct truth.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. Thank you for having me to the stage.
Sure.
Curious to know if you had any insight into the aspect of unlearning as it relates to the path towards truth. Thank you.
What do you really want to ask us?
I guess I might describe it as, how do you define going back and forth between understanding where truth is and finding that point of knowing when to go to the next stage?
Oh, I don't think it's about knowing what the truth is. I think it's about knowing where all the falsities are. And one has so many falsities in his life that he need only look there. And in discovering what is false, he will make his way towards truth.
My question is in my bio. It's a practical question, but I really have a problem with that. How does one do that?
I don't have time to read your bio. Do you have a question?
I do. I don't believe that anything I've done or anything I'm doing is my identity. How do I then describe myself in something as practical and socially constructed as a bio on a social networking app? So it goes deeper than just that question. It goes to, I think, maybe what we're talking about. Can you help me with
You sound like you're from you're from South Africa?
I am.
Yeah. So nothing that you do is who you truly are. Everything that a human being thinks about himself is self-image. So that self-image isn't reality. If you're asking about how to write a good bio, that's irrelevant. But nothing that you do is who you really are.
I understand that. And yet my preference would be to simply not write a bio. But if I don't write a bio, then in terms of what is sort of expected socially, then you are nothing. And then you don't get a chance to engage or... Do you understand what I'm trying?
If you want to engage, you will engage. If you don't want to engage, you won't engage. If you want to write a bio, you'll write one. If you don't want to write one, you won't one. There's no right or wrong answer here.
Dr. Gupta, I'm very interested in knowing what is truth, or what is your truth. Like, how does one find one?
It's the genuine longing for truth in one's heart. It isn't a geographical location.
Hi. Is truth the same for everyone?
There are some universal truths, yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
So what is the point of searching for the truth when you can just live with happiness in servitude of others?
If you live in happiness and servitude of others, there is no reason for you to look for the truth. There's no reason for anyone to look for the truth. If you are satisfied with happiness, then you can continue to be.
What are the universal truths?
There are many. There's no... I can't... This is not the forum to go into all the truths. It would just be intellectual to list all the truths. They won't do anything for you. The only thing that has any value at all is the genuine longing for truth.
Hi, Doctor. Thanks for taking my question.
Uh-huh.
Since there's an ultimate truth, why are we even born into a universe where our mind traps us into this illusion, away from the truth from the minute we're born?
I have no idea why we're born, but when a child is born, he actually is filled with truth. It is living in the society that makes him a lie.
Hi, Doctor. Thanks for taking my question.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask, is believing in something just a type of prescription?
Absolutely.
The reason
belief has no relevance with regard to truth. Belief is the enemy of truth.
So to start seeking truth, does one have to give up all their beliefs?
One does not have to give up anything. If one is more enamored with their beliefs than they are with truth, they are better off staying with their beliefs.
Hi, thanks for taking the question. Do we always need someone in our lives to rely on? Are we conditioned to stay alone?
There's no such thing as need, and if you rely upon someone, you will suffer.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I wanted to know, how can we allow ourselves to come to a place of genuinely wanting to seek the truth?
Well, if the desire for that is genuine, then there's no way that it won't happen.
I find that my desire is not genuine. It's a place for me to feel happiness again.
Yes.
And so then how do I rid myself of?
You don't rid yourself of anything. What you have just described is the truth. That's where you genuinely are. And one can only go from where they genuinely are.
So does that mean that I forever have to accept that this is where I am? Or is it is constant surrendering? Would that help me get to a place of genuineness? It's like a backwards question. Like, I know that's not even genuine.
No, you are desperate to ask what to do. And every human being is desperate to ask what to do. Because the doing is the only thing that they've been bastardized and institutionalized and conditioned to do. They don't know anything else.
So then surrendering.
And surrendering is also a bastardization, because that's also an action. Okay. It's an activity. It's a trick. It's a prescription. It's a method. It's a technique. It's a hope. It's an austerity. It's a ritual. What must be understood is that your genuine expression of where you are is the closest way to get to where you genuinely want to go.
Is truth a universal concept, or is it a subjective experience?
It is neither a concept nor an experience.
Hello.
Hello.
I wanted to ask, I'm noticing that I'm seeking approval from others, even when I approve of myself in that situation. And as I wait for their feedback, I feel anxious and scared, even though I know there's nothing to be anxious or scared about.
Well, you don't really know that there's nothing to be anxious or scared about. That's why you're anxious and scared.
But isn't the worst thing that could happen is I feel badly about it?
It's all intellectual. What's in your heart will live itself out. Intellectualization. Just playing video games.
Namaste, Dr. Gupta.
Hello.
My question is on the follow-up in the last answer you gave. Is trying to figure out the intellectualization?
Is trying what?
Trying to figure out. I mean, that's what we do, trying to figure out everything. So is that intellectualization?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. Is listening to your conscience a form of programming or the path?
I have no idea what it means to listen to your conscience.
The voices in your head.
Your conscience that you did something wrong?
Yeah.
No, that's all mind.
It's all program. All right. Thank you.
Can truth exist in the mind?
No.
Hi. As opposed to, say, 100 years ago, where the world was fairly static and one may discover a few key truths and you could rely on them, how do you reconcile the fact that in an ever-changing world that we currently have, we're in this like constant futile effort to discover the new truths and just to keep up?
There's no humans who are trying to discover the truth.
But I guess discovering truth for oneself, there is some element of it that's related to the external world that we're dealing with. I mean, you alluded to universal truths before, but I guess like truths of any given time period that you're in.
And those are not truth. Those are just ways of getting along in the world. Those are just ways of surviving in society. They have nothing to do with truth. Human beings are not looking for the truth. They're just looking for more comfort and happiness and socialization and rah-rah and just nonsense. Humans aren't looking for truth.
Even in the pursuit of, say, science and math?
Those things are just looking for scientific explanations of societal phenomenon. And while there is some utility to that, as I mentioned before, such as discovering the virus that causes a particular disease, in which case one can create an antidote for that. I mean, there's relevance to that. But those are very situational. Truth as a whole, truth as an end to all chases, truth as a path to freedom. Humans are looking for those things.
My question is, in some religions, it's a concept that we all have a calling or destiny, as they say. So is that also nonsense, or is there some truth to it?
That's a good question. I'm not sure what the reality is behind that. It could very well be true, but I'm not sure how relevant that is, because what is most immediately relevant to a person is what they feel inside, what they are driven to do, and that's something that they can wrap their arms around, because it isn't conceptual.
So can we say the things that we are driven to do are ultimately bringing us to our destiny?
It depends what you mean by destiny. I mean, if you're driven to do it, you're driven to do it. You don't really have a choice. Hello?
The other day you said something about there is a destiny, and the whole thing about just believe in the process or follow the process as the goal itself.
I have never said believe in the process.
No.
Never said follow the process.
No. You rejected that idea.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And it was very, very, very categorically rejecting that idea. But then you also said, yes, there is a destiny and there is a goal, there is a objective and a destination to get to. I'm just wondering if you can
destination and destiny are two different things, right? I mean,
not destiny. I'm sorry, I misspoke because I was thinking about the previous question.
Yes.
So you rejected the idea of investing completely in the process. You said there is an end point.
Yes.
And I'm just curious if you can expand upon that a little bit.
When you leave your house every day,
mm-hmm.
Do you get in the car and just drive down the street?
So this is I'm trying to contextualize with this within, let's say, for example, the whole notion of parenting. And I've heard in another podcast, you have a son who's a wonderful golfer. And I don't want to oversimplify, because I know what you're getting at. Because I actually, for the first time, also felt that truth when you said there is when you get into the car, you need to know where you're going. I get it. I'm just contextualizing that as a parent, and your kid loves something like golf. Like, how do you kind of make sense of the process versus goal situation? That was my question.
Well, it depends what most moves you as a parent. Whatever in your parental role and your parental duty is most moving to you, then that's the thing that you will pursue. There's no such thing as the goal of being a good parent. And while that's very natural and logical, and everyone feels that way, there's no such thing as a good parent. There's no such thing as good. There's no medal. There's no plaque that someone gets. And when they get that plaque, then they know that they've been good. Every parent, you can describe 1,000 good that they've done, and you can describe 10,000 bad that they've done. So that doesn't go anywhere. So as a parent, the only thing that matters is the thing that most moves you on a day-to-day basis in your role as a parent, as opposed to following nonsensical prescriptions and ideals and concepts to live up to. That will make you schizophrenic.
Hi, just want to know if what you mean by truth is the same as enlightenment.
I mean, enlightenment is a big word. Different people have different meanings for it. But enlightenment essentially could be described as freedom from the mind. And that absolutely is truth.
Hi, Kapil.
Hello?
My question is it true that to a degree we're always affected by our environment without a choice, no matter how well we may understand our mind?
Well, I'll tell you what is true, is that if that is okay with someone or not. You sound very resigned to that fact, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the fact that one is resigned to the fact that they will always be affected by their environment is different from someone else who might say that I don't really care if that's an easy thing to do or natural. I refuse to be affected by my environment, and neither is wrong and neither is right. I think some overall things to clear up is that the truth is far more about the longing for it than it is about discovering a piece of information. The truth is choiceless. And if it exists in someone's heart, it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. There is no judgment that it should. The best thing that a human being can do is to discover that he is living a lie. Not so that he can fix it, but if the person discovers that they are living a lie, it is only then that they have the opportunity to no longer live one. If they don't understand that they're living a lie, then they will believe that all the things that are happening around them and to them and within them and all the things in their head are reality. And there's no reason to divorce oneself from that belief. But if one has the natural proclivity to want to see the truth for what it truly is, then they have a chance.
You mentioned that when a child is born, they're full of truth. So does truth hold the power to release an adult from the prisons of childhood abuse? Thank you.
Absolutely. But once again, you're asking a question to use truth as a solution for something. And those things don't work because the truth isn't that cheap. To use truth as a tool to better your life is not going to get you anywhere. The truth is beyond what you conceive of as your life. And this truth is beyond making you happy. And the truth is beyond having you experience less suffering. All of those things will happen by themselves. But the truth is far more about the genuine desire for the truth for itself, as opposed to seeking it as an ulterior motive to achieve something else.
What do you believe your purpose in life is?
I have no purpose.
Thank you for taking my question, Dr. Gupta. Is the significance that we attach to human life or human living experience, is that a construct that we are mentally conditioned, or is it there?
If one believes that they have a life, then it's a construct. No one has a life. Well, a human being is life itself. And to turn it into two things, as the haver of the life and the life itself, that is the construct.
Hello, Dr. Kapil. I have a question. There's some things that happen to you in your life. There's some challenges that you come across. You overcome them, and then you come out of them successfully. But eventually, it's something that I've been through my life, and I'm going through my life. Still, those things, even if you've successfully come out of them, they pull you down in your mind, or as you engage in other challenging tasks in your life. How to sort of overcome that, even if you have the rationality to, believe that you've already passed over it, but still it keeps coming back.
You've never passed over anything. You come through one challenge and there's about 17 million more waiting for you. So the idea that you've successfully come through something, it's a false notion. One's entire life, so long as it is lived in untruth, will be nothing but one challenge after another, and there will be no successfully getting through any of them.
Hi there. I was wondering what your view is on spending a large proportion of your time on a task that you know is counter to truth-seeking, something like seeking financial freedom, and spending a large proportion of your energy on that. Does that type of focus work in conflict with a life of truth?
Well, truth would be that that's what you're motivated to do. So there's no rules. There's no good and bad. There's no that's wrong and you should drop all that and seek the truth. Truth is that's what you're motivated by and that's what moves you. Therefore, you are free to do so. And to deny that would be untruth.
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
So, I'm curious, knowing what you know, what are you doing here and do you enjoy doing it? So what is your truth?
I don't enjoy doing it. I don't not enjoy doing it. I'm just doing it.
Hello there. How are you?
Good.
Fantastic. So I'm curious. Are you teaching the Heart Sutra using different language?
I'm not teaching any sutra. I'm not teaching any Buddhism. I'm not teaching any Zen. I'm not teaching anything to anybody.
Namaste, Dr. Gupta. Thank you for taking my question. Can you experience truth I guess when in a sleeping state?
It's a good question. I would say that the greatest truth of the sleeping state is that you're not aware of yourself, since the greatest lie in a person's life is themselves.
So that would be yes.
Why are you looking for a yes or no response? What was it?
I get the reason is because I feel that I have, and that, therefore I can always go. Once I have, that means that I can again. But it was during a sleeping state, and it only happened once.
Yeah, what you're chasing is an experience.
Okay.
And that won't get you anywhere.
Okay.
Because chasing an experience is just chasing pleasure.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Of things. Do you think there's any point?
You broke up on me as soon as I came in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Once you've recognized the impermanence of things, do you think there's any point in helping others do the same?
Well, if you're moved to help others, then you're moved to help others. But if you feel that helping others is something good that you have done, then it's a waste of time. In all honesty, helping others is a farce. Human beings cannot be helped. They can be inspired without trying to inspire them. And if they see something, and if they see someone that happens to inspire them, then they are. And that might light a fire in them to do for themselves. But help is largely a myth.
Thank you.
Hi. Is well-being highly correlated with truth and seeing truth?
Well-being is just a new age concept. It has no meaning.
It doesn't mean anything?
Well, to you, I think it does. Therefore, my response won't be beneficial to you.
I wanted to know, is experiencing a flow state as close to as we can get to experiencing the truth?
Flow state is just an experience, and it's a fleeting experience. Now, the problem with flow states is that they lead people to chase them. So I wouldn't look to a flow state as truth. I would look at it as a glimpse into what clarity feels like. But human beings chase it.
Yeah. What do you do when somebody really, really close to you as a family member hurts you financially, but on the other hand, you don't want to spoil your relationship with them?
There's never any answer to what do you do. But the truth is that they did. And if you try to view it through the lens of trying to be good by keeping your mouth shut and being diplomatic, you will experience suffering. If you try to react to it by going after them, then you will experience suffering. That is the realization that must be had if you wish to have it.
Hi, thank you for having me up here. My question is, how important is it to release all fear, and how does one do so?
Nothing is important. It isn't important to do anything. If you feel compelled to do something, then you do. And if you don't, then you don't. But nothing is important.
So if one feels compelled, how would they go about releasing fear?
I don't know what that means, to release fear. As long as you live in the state of mind, you will always have fear.
So it's more of a shifting the mindset or shifting your perception.
No, you must be new to these parts. It isn't about shifting anything. It isn't about mindset. You were asking for prescriptions. You were asking for methodologies and techniques, and such things have no place in anything. They don't work. They work in terms of turning a nail or turning on a computer, but they have no relevance in the war that is the mind. Prescriptions and methodologies have no place in a serious person's life. They are complete dead ends. There is no how.
All of this, all that we are, is something. And then what was the reason behind, what could be the reason behind something being from nothing?
I don't know why human beings exist, if that's what you're asking.
I have a difficulty in letting go of past. How can I do that?
You can't do it.
Why do you say so?
Have you tried?
I have tried.
Did it work?
No.
And you can work on it for the next 50 years, and you will never be able to do it, because you are trying to do it through a method.
My question is, how do we know that we've found understanding?
There's no how do we know. If you understand, then you understand. It becomes clear to you. There's no scientific method there's no light that goes off in some room. I mean, you just know. There is something within a human being which knows.
Would you mind elaborate more on your own truth and understanding of this concept of all is mind and everything else is mental?
Well, I don't think there's anything to elaborate on. It sounds to me that isn't in your experience, nor do you relate to that, nor do you believe it. Not that you should.
I just wanted to ask how to be a better public speaker. Thank you.
I think I did a discourse on that somewhere. There's number one, anyone who looks to try to be better at something is wasting their time. It's about getting to where you want to go, as opposed to trying to be better. And as for how to be better, then that's just adding illusion to illusion.
So I think that I was suffering for a while because I failed to recognize the lack of sincerity in most people throughout the world, and so then after realizing that and looking back at the things you write, it really resonated with me. I'm now hopeful that we could see a significant rise in sincerity in general, essentially what you would say is people that are actively looking for the truth. Do you think that's possible or likely?
Yeah, where this question is headed is in the direction of complete untruth. There is no we. There's no group anything. Everyone is the masses. There's only any attempt to look at the we as a collective is a waste of time. It is simply an avoidance of oneself. There's only what's inside you, not we. Something else that must be understood, not as a compulsion, but to the person to whom it speaks. And it isn't a good thing if it does speak to them. Is that wherever you go in this society, in this world, even if you look at chat rooms and such, it's all full of drivel. It's all full of socialization. It is all an attempt to talk about menial things, and not that it's better to talk about intellectual things. But everything in a human being's life is to pass the time. This is what human beings do. They pass the time. If one examines his or her own life, naturally they might have a job, or they might have somewhere to punch a clock, or they might have to go to the office, or even if they're the CEO, they have to show their face. And I suppose such things are necessities for some people. But even the things that they do at the so-called workplace and what they do outside of it, it's all chores. It's all putting out fires. It's all relief from pain. It is all search for pleasure. It is all an empty chase. A human being's entire life is nothing but an empty chase. It is all empty socialization. And that isn't a good or bad thing. There's a particular human who will hear that and say, well, it is what it is, and that's what I like to do. And there's no problem with that. And there's a different human being who looks at that and says, well, that actually it's true. And that's eye-opening for me, and I don't want it to be that way anymore. And that isn't a good thing to realize that. Human beings have different levels of receptivity. Human beings are at different stages in their life in which they are more ready for the truth versus not, because the truth isn't a good thing, and one is not a good person for following the truth. It is what someone is ready for. They are. But I will say that the human being who is on a genuine path to truth is the human beings whose suffering eventually comes to an end. And the human beings on the path to society and friendship and socialization and relationship and trying to make themselves feel good and chasing happiness and trying to seek validation and have others like them and the whole societal game, that isn't a bad thing. But that can only lead to pain. That can only lead to misery. That can only lead to frustration. That can only lead to anxiety. There is nowhere else that can lead. Now, that isn't a deterrent. One should not feel deterred from pursuing the path of empty socialization, because if that's what's in their heart, then no intellectual deterrent will sway them from that. So at the end of the day, it is all about finding the truth of where someone really is. There is no good and there is no bad and there is no right and there is no wrong. You can better yourself day and night. You can read 900 self-help books a year if you wish. It will not do anything for you. You might become a little bit more this and a little bit less that, But at the end of the day, you'll remain the same. You will remain under the same illusions. Wherever a human being really wants to go is where they really want to go. And there are no rules. There are no precepts. There are no concepts. There are no stipulations. Spirituality is a farce. Self-help is an empty shell game. Friendship leads to enemies. Relationships lead to conflict. All things in the end go nowhere. But that does not mean that one need to separate themselves from it. It only means that if they wish to see the truth, that they can see things for what they are, while they very, very well engage with it. But to do something while knowing the emptiness and the strings behind the stage is one thing. But to do it while feeling that it is real when it ultimately is not, that only leads to endless misery.
Creativity or creation is, as you've said previously, it's like our God state, this infinite state that a human can be in. Whenever I think about entrepreneurship, I keep on coming back to this idea that it is just an abstraction or a more socially accepted form of slavery, but that is at odds with my own thinking. So I was wondering if you have any comments, statements, or questions.
Well, it doesn't matter what it is. It only matters what you're driven to do. And if you're driven to do X, but intellectually and conceptually you believe that X is wrong, it doesn't really matter, because the drive to do it will supersede your intellectualization of it being wrong.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my question. I was wondering if you could expound on a little bit more about understanding where the mind is going. When you say that versus watching one's thoughts, how do you not get tripped up in prescription versus seeing where the mind is going versus following?
The following the thought thing is just the other Buddhist parable nonsense.
Exactly.
It's all what you see. There's something that you have to, you absolutely must, if you are looking for the truth. This isn't a necessity, but if someone is genuinely seeking the truth, what they have to understand is that they're nowhere in this society, not in any religious text, not in any ism, not in any religion, not in any spirituality, not on any preacher, not in any motivational speaker, not in any book or media or newspaper or blog or podcast or whatever it may be. There is nowhere that they're going to go in this society and not find a saturation of prescriptions, because that is all humans are looking for, and the demand creates the supply. All humans know how to do is prescribe, and all humans know how to do is to ask for prescriptions. So if someone realizes that, and they really genuinely want the truth, then they will begin to see that there is nothing in their life, there is nothing in the world in which they've been seeking answers that is anything other than prescriptions. No matter how nice it sounds, or how spiritual it sounds, or how poetic it may seem, it is all prescriptions. And they must also understand not to turn no prescription into a rule to follow. It isn't that no prescriptions is a rule. There is no compulsion to follow it. But if one is genuinely seeking the truth, then they will see the futility of prescriptions. They will see that prescriptions will always lead them back to where they started. It is just a cul-de-sac. It can never lead them anywhere. So you can watch your thoughts until the cows come home, and
Exactly.
50 years later, you will still be watching them. If you look at if you look at the meditators, do they become enlightened? No, none of them.
No.
Not a single one. If you look at the ones who are following mindfulness, they're following mindfulness today, and 70 years later, they're still following mindfulness. And when they're told by the Buddhists, they're told, well, just keep practicing. Well, that's fine. How long did you practice? If the person's close to death, how many years do they have left to practice? Do they practice after they die? So everything that you must understand about human beings, you have to understand the source. And the source from which you're getting these things is a human. And a human is a prescribing machine. You will not find in your lifetime a single human being who will not try to prescribe to you and to make you do something because it's good for you, or give you advice to make you happier. Nowhere will you find that. So there's no outrage about that. There's no reason to be upset about that. But if you understand that, then you know that you will, if you go to a farm of barking dogs, you're not shocked because you expect dogs to bark. So in the same way, if you understand that it is the nature of human beings to prescribe, and it is also in the nature of human beings not to get anywhere in their life and to completely waste their entire life. And if you examine obituaries and cemeteries, what you will see is that every human being dies unaware. Every human being dies unrealized. Every human being dies unhappy. Every human being dies unfree. If you realize that, then you will not fall into the trap of listening to what people say. You will burn all your books. You will turn off your radio. You will not listen to anyone because you know that they will give you nothing but prescriptions.
I completely agree. I've been actually finding that as I'm following where the mind is going versus the prescriptions. So just thank you for taking the time to answer the question.
Sure.
Hi.
Hello.
I wanted to just give an observation and question. I've lived the misery of passing time and a lot of wasted time with work. I have enjoyed other parts of my life, but my observation or question is recognizing that nothing really matters other than the reality on this call of my own world and how it impacts me. I wanted to know what's your view in terms of, why does life even matter then if we're kind of all just passing time?
Life doesn't matter because what one calls a life are the events of their life. And that life doesn't matter. It is all putting out fires and doing chores. It has no significance whatsoever. So if there's anything in life that does matter, matter being that it can bring you to a state of permanence and to an end of suffering, it is a devotional pursuit of truth.
Hello?
Hello?
So my question is, what causes self-doubt in an artist when people are saying that his work is bad, but he thinks that it's good?
Well, he's very interested in what others think of his work. And so long as an artist is worried about what others think of his work, he is no longer an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Dr. Gupta. Thank you for having me. I have a question here. You talk a lot about truth, but I don't seem to understand, how do you get there? Is it something like koans in Buddhism? It's something like your lies, or
No. There's no how to get anywhere. The reason that you're asking how to get there is because it is not your lifelong devotion. It does not speak to you more than anything else. Therefore, you view it in the same way that you're looking for where to buy a new pair of shoes.
Hi, Dr. Gupta.
Hello.
My question is, even really devoted athletes have cheat days where they eat pizza and lounge around.
Well, that isn't devotion. You're turning that into rules. You're turning that into discipline. That's fundamentally different. I'm talking about devotion to truth, not devotion to rules and principles. That someone has made a rule that I will not have, carbs or sugar or whatever it is. I mean, that's menial stuff. That's very low level stuff. I'm talking about the devotion to something grand, devotion to truth.
So do you have...
Hi.
Hello?
First of all, I just joined this room, but I'm very interested in the authenticity that I hear in your voice as you're talking about the distinction between devotion and rules. A question that I've been pondering is, how can I be the most kind to myself and others? And I'm wondering how you think about that question.
Yes, you indeed are very new to this area. The self is a lie. Kindness to oneself is a chase. It has no meaning. You can be kind to yourself all you want, but you are simply a manufactured state of your mind. Your identity has no meaning. Who you think you are not. So your kindness to yourself is simply the mind being kind to the mind.
my question is, what do you think are the benefits of giving?
That's a very spiritual question. I can even hear it in your voice. If you want to give, you can give. There's no benefits. The kumbaya stuff, I mean, that stuff is poison. That's the kumbaya and the group enlightenment and the let's hold hands and sing and chant and the hippie generation and the long hair and the ponytails and the incense and love one, love all, and all is one. It's all BS. It's all nonsense. That is just as materialistic as buying a new car and thinking that the car is God.
Hi, good morning. I'm from India, and I have a question. How do you design a day for to seek truth?
So there's no designing of a day. There's no design. This is not arranging your room. If you genuinely want to seek truth, then you will.
Hello, thank you for giving me this chance to ask you a question.
Sure.
I just want to understand, so is anxiety caused by a need for chasing pleasure? And
yes.
So if a person suffers from anxiety, will that motivate them to search for the truth?
No, in most cases not. You have to understand the number of people who are searching for truth in this world, probably 5. And that may be generous in itself. No one is searching for the truth, and everyone is suffering from anxiety. But the human being who suffers from anxiety, and even you yourself, even though you may intellectually now know that it is from the chase for pleasure, that isn't really hitting your liver or your spleen. Something within you will continue to believe that no, I must seek this pleasure and that pleasure, anxiety be damned. And that's what you'll continue to do. If at some point, and it is very, very unlikely for anyone, if at some point something happens within you which says, I really am tired of everything, and the only thing that really speaks to me is to devote my life to the truth, then that will be the path that sets you on a journey to really become one of the rarest human beings in the world, not in a hierarchical fashion that you can get a gold star, but rarest in the sense of being able to truly experience and truly taste the permanence and the elixirs of life, and once having received them, never losing them ever again.
So how are those 5 people? I mean, how do those people become who they are? Because you're saying there are only 5 people. I mean, is this because
I'm being a little bit facetious, but you understand what I'm saying. Not that many, and there's no how they become anything. It is for whatever reason in their heart, the light for the longing of truth has awakened. Who knows why? It just has. And once that happens, there's no going back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for inviting me up. So I've been listening, and I think I get what you mean by the devotion to truth. I know that when I kind of lose the plot, I don't know if there's a better way to say that, but when I kind of lose the plot, it's oftentimes because I'm looking at what is through like some kind of lens that's either tinted by what I want the truth to be or my past experiences. So I guess my question is, how do you get past that so you can actually see what is?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by the plot.
Like when you see something for when you don't see the truth because it's tinted by what you want it to be. Do you get what I mean?
So the human being is more enamored by seeing what they want to see than they are by seeing the truth. And that is simply the fact. And so long as one is in that place, there is nothing to do, because the greatest desire will always win. You can't cheat the desire. You can't intellectualize it, and you can't tell yourself, well, I shouldn't be feeling that. I need to be feeling that. That simply won't go anywhere. It's all self-help nonsense. Wherever you are is where you are. and it will never be otherwise.
So how
not to say that you will always be there, but what I mean to say that it will never be otherwise is wherever you are, you are, and that's the way it'll always be. Now, if you change in terms of your desires change, then that's where you are now. But there's no how to change it.
What if, so I feel, and I don't know if this is just, I don't know, my issue, but I feel like my desires oscillate. Like, I feel like sometimes I do see things in a completely, tinted way because it's driven or it's colored by my ideals or what I want, right? And then other times I feel like I can see things really accurately and acutely.
Yes. And that's like the sky in which the clouds pass by and sometimes the sun shines through. Those are completely random and, as you said, oscillating states. But you cannot, where you will rest will always be in the oscillation until something inside you awakens, which says, for whatever reason that I can't explain, I genuinely am desirous of the truth more than anything else.
Okay.
Right.
Hi. You mentioned that, once one achieves the state of no mind or transcends the mind, it can possibly become one of the greatest gifts. And I wanted to seek some clarity on that second part because, the nature of the mind doesn't change in terms of, it chasing endless thoughts. So, how does it sort of, become the greatest gift available to someone?
If I said that, then you've taken it out of context. I have no idea what I said. But it sounds to me that you interpreted it as it's this really great state, and it would really be a benefit to you to get into it, so go chase it. And that nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, I would say that if someone was to ask, should I get into the state of no mind, I would say absolutely not. Because if someone needs convincing, if someone has a choice but to go there, and if someone is trying to go there because they're looking for a state or an experience, which everyone is, then it's unreal. It's not truth. Not only will it not last, but it'll only lead to an endless chase for more and more pleasure chasing. Experience chasing is a waste of time, and that's why everyone is doing all these fancy drugs these days. Everyone's a drug addict, and addicted to various different things, be it alcohol or whatever. Everyone is addicted to pleasure, and modern society and the intellectuals have turned it into this scientific thing that it's good for you to do these things, and it gets you into the state to see clearly, and ego death and all this complete just garbage. There are very few authentic human beings left in this world. Everyone else is a follower. Everyone a paper puppet. Everyone is simply like filler. They're not real human beings who are genuinely devoted to something. Everyone's simply chasing. They're chasing their next orange-colored pill.
Are universal truths a societal construct?
Absolutely not. Truth and society are an oxymoron.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to ask you a question. This is the first time I'm doing this. I've never asked a question before.
Sure.
So one of the things I struggle with a lot is the concept of money. So money is material, but obviously you need money to survive, and you devote a lot of time and energy to make money. What do you think of money and the construct of money?
Money is an absolute necessity to live in the world, and to have an emotion about it. That the spiritualists say that money is bad, and that it is that it should be shied away from, and that one should not covet it, and one shouldn't do this and that. The bottom line is to celebrate money is a lie, and to denigrate money is a lie. Money is simply an absolute necessity, and if one is attached to money, and if one views money as part of their self-image, that isn't immoral. There is no such thing as immorality or morality. That is yet again another societal construct. If the only trouble with being attached to money is that it will lead to suffering, that's the only reason. Not that you have broken some stupid, idiotic spiritual rule. Every guru needs to be smacked in the face because they all lie. They all teach people to create rules. They are no different than hall monitors. They have no reality attached to them. Everything must be looked at as a utilitarian thing, and money is absolutely utilitarian. And if one is not looking to live in a cave or in a jungle, and they are looking to live in society, in the world, and the fact is that they need money. To celebrate it is a lie. To covet it is a lie. To deny it is a lie. To denigrate it is a lie. It is what it is.
Thank you.
Starting from tomorrow, I'm quitting my job and just going to be on my own for a bit. I wonder if you have any advice on how to spend time when you have to run your own, you have to be the ruler of your own universe.
Well, there's no how to run your life. I mean, you don't have a life. Your entire life is nothing but just a bunch of empty chores, beliefs, ideas, thoughts, opinions, likes and dislikes. That's all you are. And if you spend some time, if you choose to, because it speaks to you, not that it's a good thing, and you won't be any better for having done so. Let's get that clear from the very beginning. It isn't self-development. If you happen to be moved by looking into the falsities of that which you call your life, there is plenty of fodder there, and there is plenty of time, and there is plenty there to keep you occupied for years.
Hi. What is your definition of friendship?
Friendship is a myth.
Tell me about sacrifice.
The word "tell me" strikes me in an awkward fashion.
What utility does sacrifice have in our life?
None. It's a prescription.
I want to ask a question. So if there is heaven also evolving as Earth?
So you begin with if there is heaven. So you've already established that there is. So therefore it isn't a question.
Well, yeah, I suppose there is a higher dimension place.
I have no idea if there's heaven or not. So since I don't know, then any question that rests upon that question is a non-starter.
Oh, hi there. Is there anything called universal truth?
Yeah, there are universal truths, but you're going to ask me what they are, and I don't really go into them right now. But yes, there are universal truths that apply to every human being.
Hey, how can I confirm that I've experienced the truth and it's not my mind that is tricking me? Thanks.
I think a more important question is, why are you so desperate to confirm it?
You said that there are some universal truths which apply to all human beings. Could you share some examples?
There is no good or bad.
Good evening. What is the beginning of learning, or the beginning steps in learning to let go of attachment?
You can't let go of anything. It's all about discovering what a thing really is and how it has bound you. And then it is about if that binding is genuinely okay with you or not. Not intellectually, but genuinely. That's where to begin.
What is your responsibility to society?
0.
Can science or the scientific method lead us to truth?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I was wondering, is any religion closer to the truth than another?
I think religions serve only themselves.
What's the point or role of education in seeking the truth?
What's the point of what?
Education.
Education has nothing to do with truth.
I've read some of your books, really enjoy what you have to say. Just curious from a high performer standpoint, what's most important for high performance? Is it sincerity? Is it instinct? Is it talent? When you're coaching for high performance, what do you find is most important?
What the human being truly wants to be.
I've been listening since a couple of days and also today for a long time. I'm thinking if the truth is something that we can think of as, finding truth could be thought of as having deep awareness about various motivations in the world and not letting it impact you positively or negatively, but just knowing and understanding that and having the awareness around it, and it not having any impact on you necessarily.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable way to look at it. So long as what you are not saying is that you are trying to undo or fight off or pretend that you don't have any reactions to it, or that you're trying to suppress the reactions to it. So long as you don't mean that, then truth absolutely is along the lines of what you're saying, because what you're saying is essentially to see things the way they are, without having any opinion about it or without being attached to it in any way.
Exactly.
Yes,
So that is
yes.
my understanding. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hi, Doctor. Thanks for having me. My question is truth absolute or is it relative? For example, for someone who's just to give an analogy, if I'm traveling on a road and I ask someone for direction, he's going to say go and take a left if I have to reach somewhere, and if I'm coming from the other direction, it's going to be like go straight and take a right, depending on where I'm coming from.
And it is for that reason that every human being, the truth of where to begin is precisely where one is, and human beings are not taught to do that. Human beings are taught to go somewhere. Human beings are taught to do. But the truth actually states that a human being must first recognize where they truly are.
Hello, Dr. Gupta. Thank you for listening to my question. My question is, in your opinion, what is the best way to deal with loss? And by loss, I mean loss of a very important person in our lives.
You cannot deal with it. It's the emotions that you have, that you have. Any attempt to try to improve your emotions or any attempt to try to lessen your suffering will only perpetuate your suffering. And by the way, I'm sorry for that individual's loss.
Hi, I just heard you say that, people need to know truly where they are, but in the universe, there is so much complexity. It's very hard for a human to know where he is. And for the naivety that he has, maybe for evolved person, it's easy. Why do you think it's hard for people to do?
It's not difficult to know where one is. If it's difficult for someone to know where one is, it's only because they feel that they should be somewhere else. One knows one's level of sincerity. One knows if they're genuinely serious or not. That isn't difficult.
No, but level of sincerity is also relative, because I might think I'm very sincere, but relatively when I meet a more sincere people...
It's not true. It's not true. The only way that you would know is if you're not willing to look.
So I realized after we talked last that I guess I had a few more questions about the idea that you oscillate between, when you were talking about like how the truth is the sun that shines through the clouds, and you oscillate between like the state of, or at least I oscillate, I can't talk for anyone else, I oscillate between the state of like being able to see what is and being so blinded or shaded by what I want things to be or what I think things should be. Do you oscillate too?
Honestly, I think it is absolutely irrelevant what I do. Because let's say I oscillated day and night. It has no meaning. Let's say I never oscillated. It has no meaning. The only thing that matters in a person's life is themselves.
But couldn't I learn from how maybe you moved from oscillating more to oscillating
No, because
less?
there is no way that I can give you a methodology. The things that I have, I don't want to talk about myself, but let's say there's human beings in the past have realized things. There are human beings throughout history who have had great realizations. Let's talk about them. And how they achieved those realizations was not by way of a method. And if you were to put a gun to their head, they might be disingenuous, perhaps out of a genuine desire to help you, they might cave and give you a how, because they don't want to say, I don't know. The truth is they don't know. The only way that things happen in this life are through direct sincerity. And how someone actually does it, when someone is drowning in a lake and they have no idea how to swim, they flail their arms. And there's no pattern to their flailing, and there's no prescription to their flailing. But somehow they keep their head above water. And the only reason they keep their head above water, the only reason they managed to do so, was not because their technique in flailing was taught well to them. The only reason they do is because their desperation to stay alive was second to none. Therefore, they found a how. It is for that reason that there's no methodology at all.
I see that. You know, the people who you mentioned that have had these like unbelievable like realizations, and it comes to them, or it comes from inside of them for whatever reason, you know how a lot of them like make a concerted effort to either like, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, so forgive me if it's the wrong way, but like to either start a religion or to pass on their knowledge or whatever. Does that mean that there's...
Then it becomes false.
Okay,
then it becomes false. Yeah, any desire to help someone is false, because the desire to help will sabotage the effort.
Because it's in essence insincere.
Because it attempts
your ego.
Well, because it attempts to reduce something that was howless into a how.
So is it useless to have to look to others to guide you? Is that completely
100%,
useless?
100%. If one is looking to others to guide them by way of methodology or technique, it is 100% useless. And if the person goes along and gives them prescription, which everyone will, then they are useless.
My question is, what is the cause of insincerity?
That's a good question. I don't know what the cause of insincerity is, nor do I know what the cause of sincerity is. There's someone either simply has it, or somehow it comes to him later in life, or it doesn't.
Hi there. How do you differentiate between the truth and a chase?
Everything in your life is a chase. In your specific life, everything is a chase.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Doc, for getting me up here. I have a question. So a lot of us would be able to relate when we say that we are living in future and not in the present, meaning that we are constantly worried about future and trying to chase, as you just mentioned. So
if you're going to ask me how to live in the present, you're wasting your time.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello?
I keep getting caught up in a cycle of attaching and then having expectations broken and then just staying in a state of being detached from everything. But that makes me unhappy. And so then I go back into attaching to things that inevitably just lead me back to being detached. And so I'm just wondering how to break this cycle, or I'm wondering why I would be unhappy just being equally detached from everything.
Well, the reason that happened is because you are chasing happiness on the one end and relief from disappointment on the other end. And so long as you are trying to mitigate one thing and chase another, you'll always be on that cycle.
Okay.
Lou, I want to ask you, during dhyan, during certain points of meditation, there's a certain loss that occurs of one's memory and biases and awareness, and eventually the awareness of self. And there's a certain fear that comes with that, like almost a death, I would say. It's almost like a fight or flight response, and that's quite hard to overcome. And I've been trying to do that for many years, and I'm not quite sure how to build that courage.
It has nothing to do with courage. You will never do it.
There's no I that does it, right? Is that what you mean?
No, you're.
What do you mean?
You are way too caught up and imprisoned by spiritual concepts to know the truth. You're interested more in spirituality and meditation and ego death and all of this nonsense than you are in the truth.
Yeah, I mean, there's no belief that's necessary to understand. There's no need for any of that.
Well, intellectually you believe so, but your heart longs for spiritual modalities.
What is the difference between seriousness and sincerity? Or are they the same thing?
No, they can be viewed as the same thing. There isn't a definitional thing. It's basically genuineness.
This is a follow-up question on some of the stuff that's been spoken already today. So what I gather is that one way to be motivated, or people feel motivated to search for the truth, is when they have lived in the illusion or suffered for long enough and there is some breakthrough or clarity that they don't want to be stuck in the pleasure cycle anymore. And as you mentioned, if somebody is drowning, they're not taught how to flail their arms, but they figure out how to do it. And maybe this might sound like asking for a prescription, but I am still trying to wrap my head around it. What if somebody helps you, or you again get stuck in that pleasure cycle and you keep jumping back into that cycle? Is there any single way as to hold on and remind yourself to not go there? Is there something you can do?
No, there isn't. There is literally nothing you can do. And I think it was designed that way on purpose, because truth is not for the doer. I believe it might be in the words of Jesus. I'm not sure, but there's something along the lines of even when someone does not see a path between two cliffs and there's no bridge, and the person just steps, even if it kills them, that was designed that way. There are some things that can only be had through direct, deep-seated longing. And methodology will forever be for the pretenders.
And the longing happens. There's no reason why the longing happens. I mean, it just
That's
happens.
exactly right. That's exactly right. But the first thing that you mentioned, that someone could become tired of it, and that's often the way it happens. So your insight in understanding that was exactly correct.
So should you, when you're suffering, maybe ask yourself to stay there and not search for the next pleasure? Because there's that moment when, I have experienced that moment where you feel, oh my God, this is enough. Like, you can't do this again and again. But somehow you still reach out for the next pleasure, or you still forget all of that.
The truth is that you can do it again and again. That's the truth, and you will. And there's absolutely nothing that you can do. And there probably isn't a human being who's listening right now to this session who has reached the point in their life in which they have truly seen that prescriptions absolutely 100% are the road to doom. No one has seen that. They may listen to it, they may write it down, they may try to imbibe it, they may try to recite it, but they haven't gotten there yet, because that is age-old conditioning.
How do you balance the duality of seeking?
There's no balance to anything. And words like duality mark one as a spiritualist. Spirituality is a complete barrier to truth. Balance is a barrier to truth. The human beings who truly get somewhere in this world, who truly achieve otherworldly things, be it in the materialistic realm or in the world of no mind or realization or enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, or freedom, are not the balanced. They're always the insane. They're always the imbalanced. Only the mediocre seek balance.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. I generally tend to not struggle with the good and the bad of the things, but I struggle finding a purpose. And
struggle for that is natural, because purpose doesn't exist.
Okay.
And there's no reason for you to imbibe that.
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
Is there an answer to what the meaning of life is?
No.
What's manifestation?
It's a spiritual concept.
Hi again. Thanks for the opportunity again. I wanted to ask, so a couple of things have been said about pleasure and, regret. I was wondering, isn't it kind of important?
Well, when you begin with, isn't it important? That doesn't go anywhere. I'm not going to listen to anything that happens after those words, because that is an opinion that you've already formed. So it isn't a question.
Yeah, the question is the question is is it important for someone to have the feeling of pleasure and regret in order to progress in the work they do? Like, for example, if someone fails in producing good music, then in order to drive motivation to produce better music, or for an
If a human being is driven by pleasure, then they'll be on a chase forever. And the very pleasure that drives them will bring them an endless amount of suffering, well beyond the amount of pleasure. And it isn't right and it isn't wrong.
This is a follow-up to the question I asked before. I just wanted to take time to think about what you said. If this is a toggle, if attachment and detachment are a toggle between mitigating for relief or mitigating my expectations and seeking relief, then would the answer lie in not trying to mitigate the disappointment, or would it lie on letting go of wanting to feel relief?
Well, you can't not try and you can't let go. It isn't in your hands. And therefore you're going to ask, well, then what do I do? And that's exactly my point. You will always return to what do I do? And so long as you return to what do I do, you will have returned more fundamentally to the place that I am not sincere. I am not serious. I am not genuine. And that isn't a bad thing. That isn't a judgment. That is simply where you are. And in fact, it is the realization that that's where you are. That is the truth. That is the truth for you at that moment.
Yeah.
But the understanding must hit for a human being, and there might be 1 in 100 million who it actually hits for, that prescriptions are the road to devastation.
I'll think about it. Thank you.
Well, if you think about it, you certainly won't get there. Thought is precisely the road of illusion.
Is the law of cause and effect is applicable for everyone?
Yes.
If so, how anyone can achieve Siddha?
So it says here, are you a Rinpoche?
Wow, why do you ask?
Well, that's what your profile says. Is that what you are? Are you a monk?
Yes.
You are? Okay. So let me ask you this.
Yes.
What are you seeking as a monk?
Why do you think I'm seeking as a monk?
Okay, then why are you a monk?
Is there has to be always a reason?
It doesn't have to be, but for you, is there?
I think, if, cause and effect is applicable for everyone, so everyone is changed by the cause and effect, so where's the Siddha?
Why do you care about why do you care about Siddhahood? What relevance does that have?
No, Siddha meaning accomplishment, right?
No, Siddha has nothing to do with accomplishment. I mean, do you know what a Siddha is?
In the Sanskrit word, Siddha means great accomplishment.
No, a Siddha is an avatar, an enlightened being.
No, Siddha, in a word, literally, Siddha means achievement of great accomplishment.
Yeah, I don't know of any other meanings, and perhaps you're right. Perhaps there is a meaning that says it means accomplishment, but there certainly is the meaning which is avatar or enlightened being. But I guess my point is, it doesn't even matter. But I became interested by your profile in that you're a Rinpoche, and you're absolutely correct in that all things have a cause and effect, and that there is no effect without a preceding cause. But you sort of shied away from the question. I'm curious, what is it, if anything, that you're trying to attain through Buddhahood, or through your path of Buddhism?
Well, according to Buddhism,
I know according to Buddhism, but what I'm talking according to you, is there anything that you're particularly looking to achieve?
Well, that's what I'm asking you the question. So what I'm trying to achieve is the cause and effect is applicable for everyone? If so,
it is, yes.
How even after you achieve Siddha, and even after you realize the truth, there will be a cause and effect for you?
Well, it doesn't matter anymore. Because a person who realizes if a person who realizes the truth is free of himself.
So there's no cause and effect. So you said there's cause and effect applicable for everyone.
Yes, but you are now turning cause and effect into a concept. It is much more. You're turning it into a cause and effect. Absolutely is applicable to everyone. But when one speaks of a human that overcomes himself, then that human enters it into a different domain. Now, whether cause and effect applies to him, I don't know. That's very conceptual at that point. It doesn't really matter because the last thing that he'd be worried about, a person who becomes truly free of themselves, is cause and effect. So it doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant. It's an intellectual and academic question.
Okay. So I don't mean to be argumentative here. I just would like to clarify. Cause and effect means if you plant apple seed, then you will have an apple and growing from there. If you put your hand in a fire, fire will burn your hand. So these are the cause and effect.
Yes.
So if you pursue to attain enlightenment or Buddhahood, you want to call it, so then you reach the Buddhahood according to your belief, right? So
No, that's not true. The person who seeks Buddhahood is wasting his time. Because even Buddha didn't seek Buddhahood.
Okay. Why did Buddha then live?
Buddha, you see, the problem with Buddhism, and by the way, I have great respect for the Buddhist people. They're very peaceful people. But if we speak from the realm of truth, Buddhism has nothing at all to do with Siddhartha. It has to do with the image of the enlightened being, and it's totally irrelevant. Siddhartha did not have any interest in becoming a Buddha. Siddhartha's only interest was to put an end to samsara. His only interest was never again to return as a human being to this world of suffering. It wasn't to attain Buddhahood. So the ism, when you take Buddha and you attach an ism to it, it becomes false. And all of the chanting and the mantras and the incense and all that stuff, they're all rituals. They may have a significance and they may have a symbolic viewpoint, but they are just dancing around the Buddha. They are not Buddha themselves. Now, in your path, in your way of being, I am certain that there are those rare individuals who don't follow your rules, who don't dance to your tunes, who don't pray your prayers, who don't say your mantras, and who one day get up from the temple and say, to the hell with all of this, I'm going to go find freedom. And they do. And those are the real Buddhas.
Well, you seem to know a lot. However,
I don't know much. I don't know much. All I can say is I think I do know sincerity. Thanks a lot.
I spoke to you once before, and I would say you helped me a lot, but everything that you're saying tonight is really resonating with me. If truth is the only thing, right? And is there a path to find truth?
No.
There's no path?
No.
So I guess there's no guidestones for you to put me on.
No. The person who is genuinely sincere, the path will open up for them. And sometimes that path is involved with intersecting with a particular human being, and sometimes that happens. But those things only happen after the genuineness and the sincerity dawns within the human being.
Hello, Doctor.
Hello?
How does one surrender to performance?
There's no how to do anything.
Fair enough.
I'm just wondering, what do you mean by being sincere? Sincere to what? Sincere to who? Like, I'm just thinking.
genuine in one's pursuit.
Hi, Doctor. Intelligence or wisdom? What's more important for a better world, and why?
Importance is irrelevant. The world is irrelevant. Betterment is a farce.
Do you believe in afterlife, or is that question even relevant?
No, I don't think it's relevant. I think the most acute problem in a human being's existence is his current life.
Is it what? I'm sorry?
Is their current life.
Oh, okay.
What keeps you going? And what motivates you to take these questions and answers?
That's a good question. I have no idea. It's an excellent question. It genuinely is.
My question is, I keep going back to the same patterns, especially in my work life, and I'm not able to break free from that patterns. What am I not seeing here?
You're looking for a way to break free. That's what you're not seeing.
Hey there. I have a question for you. Do you have expectation, or what are your thoughts on expectations?
Well, expectations can lead only to disappointment. But I don't think that a human being really is in the position to choose whether to have them or not.
What kind of the emotions do you have when people keep asking you the how-to question? Because when you see people conditioned by the society, do you have emotions for them? What's your feeling?
I don't respect the masses. As for when people ask for how-to, I mean, it's to be expected because that's all people know. And it isn't their fault. It's just they've been conditioned. They've been conditioned to do so. It's all a human being knows is to ask how. There's the thought that something besides a how could exist never has really dawned on virtually any human being. That's the first place they begin, and it's the last place they begin.
So you don't feel empathy or disappointed. You just feel very neutral.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. I mean,
Thank you.
Can someone successfully negotiate an outcome with someone who is, let's say, a narcissist, where the outcome is counter to that individual's narcissism?
Yeah, narcissism, these words have no meaning. But to attempt to change someone else or to try to compromise or to negotiate with someone else, I think is a waste of time. The only endeavors that have any relevance or any effectiveness are the endeavors that occur within oneself, as opposed to between one and another.
My question for you is, when we get triggered by something repeatedly with somebody we love, what can we do to stop that cycle between the two of you?
You're not going to stop the cycle between you and anybody. The only thing that has any relevance is for you to understand what's happening within yourself. The attempt to change a relationship, the attempt to better an interpersonal relation is a complete and utter waste of time. That is not where the effectiveness lies. It lies squarely within yourself.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, what's one piece of advice you would give a CEO who's just starting out, who's just starting their startup?
I don't know. General advice goes nowhere. It has no meaning. Everything is deep and situational and according to what one is ready for. To sprinkle advice on someone without knowing context, without knowing the individual, without knowing where he is, where he wants to go, what he's truly seeking, what his level of interiority is, it's just a waste of time.
Hello, namaste, Dr. Gupta. My question is, do all truths or most truths appear as paradoxes unless you're genuinely pursuing them?
Generally, yes. Even if you are genuinely pursuing them, they will always seem paradoxical or ironic, or because they will be so wildly antithetical and so extremely otherworldly as compared to what one has always believed to be the case.
Isn't everything just wasting time? Or
I think I would say in your life it is.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to ask a question. So, like, if you say that the current experience is kind of pointless, a lot of people traditionally would think that the point of living is to suffer, and then you find meaning through that. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't have any opinions. If you feel that you can find meaning through suffering, then so be it. It's whatever you think is the case. It isn't that you think X and then I come along and say Y, and then you abandon your X and adopt my Y. It's all according to where you currently live, inside yourself.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. You kind of mentioned around when you kind of look for these truths. One of the other speakers asked about certain truths being paradoxical in nature, and you mentioned almost exclusively, and feel free to let me know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but you mentioned almost exclusively they are paradoxical. You also kind of spoke a few questions prior to that around psychedelics and just kind of how they might be able to help you find these truths. And I think your view on that is that they are actually kind of more of tricks, for lack of a better term.
I believe I said psychedelics are for drug addicts.
Got it. Makes sense. And so I guess when you speak of these paradoxical truths, and some people claim that psychedelics do help them find these truths, I guess I'm wondering, is there no value to psychedelics? Are they just, and if the answer is yes, there is no value to psychedelics, I guess I'm wondering, what is the purpose of psychedelics, or what exactly is going on in the background?
I think the mind of a human being that takes drugs in any form, no matter if they claim to have a spiritual element to them or not, I think that is the smallest human being. I think that human being is beyond reproach. That human being has sunk so low that he is so far from truth that he couldn't possibly achieve truth in this lifetime. A person who has those types of sensibilities. That's how lowly I think of doing such things.
Got it. So you almost have to kind of find it within yourself or not find it at all. Is that right?
I don't think that if a person has the sensibilities to take drugs, that they will ever find it within themselves, because their constitution is degraded.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Is third eye experience a made-up concept by humans to increase following or status?
It is if one views it through a spiritual realm. Absolutely.
Thank you.
There were some really insightful questions tonight. And those who asked insightful questions, if I can remember who they are, I will give them a chance to ask another.
Hi. I've been listening to your responses to what people are asking. And if there is no how, there is no path, there is not a benchmark to
what... I don't... Wait, but hang on.
Hi.
The manner in which you are saying that implies very strongly that you are believing me, that you are thinking that what I am saying is correct, and even though you don't think it's correct, and you somehow need to imbibe it.
Not so much, but I'm not sure how to alter my tone to make it. It's up in an abstract form, and I'm considering it and asking questions about it, sort of. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it really is not about believing anything that I say.
Yes.
I think that one has to look at it through one's own lens. One has to filter all things through themselves. And one has to examine in their own life the things in which they have pursued as a how. Have they gotten to where they wanted to go? And and I'm not saying that so that you can examine it and see that it hasn't, and therefore you can drop the how. I'm not interested in what anyone comes to a conclusion about. I don't care. I know that's the way it is, but I also know that I have no interest for anyone to believe me, or to teach that to anyone, or to convince anyone. It is imperative that you look at these things on your own and to examine them for yourselves, and never in your life take anything on faith from anybody, myself or anybody else, and to burn all your books, and for you to be your own teacher.
Correct.
That's
So I guess I'm sorry. Should
Go
I?
ahead.
So I guess what I'm trying to understand is when I hear something new, I obviously I don't believe it right off the bat. I take it and then I put it through how I understand myself to learn to something, and then I kind of evaluate it, and then I think, if my mind is if my mind feels this is kind of like taking me in a direction that it feels correct. This feels not correct, but this feels like more of the direction I'm going in, because in and of itself, there are no benchmarks for things like this. There is no, okay, you're here now. I'm
That's
wondering
correct.
what that feeling of even inside of myself, if I'm endeavoring for something and the only benchmarks I have, I can't even call them benchmarks, they're inside of myself. What is that? I don't even want to say the word arrival at something finally. There is not that arrival. There is
The arrival occurs when the things that used to arise no longer arise.
So I will see some sort of external fluctuation.
Well, the things that arise are not external, though. So, for instance, if you notice that X thing makes you angry, and then after a while you expose yourself to that thing, and all of a sudden anger doesn't arise anymore. And the key there is that you did nothing to try to make it not arise. You didn't use a technique. You didn't use nonsense. It naturally didn't arise. That means the cause for its arisal disappeared. Therefore, inside you. Therefore, you arrived somewhere that was genuine, that was true. And the reason that it was true was because you did nothing to make it not come about.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yes,
Okay,
good question. Good question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you believe that there is any sort of creator?
There very likely is. Yes. Now, what that creator is called, I don't know. But there's one thing is for certain. The human being as himself is a monumentally limited individual. Therefore, there is something within him and about him that is infinitely greater than the person himself.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. I want to ask you how you deal emotionally with the loss of loved ones.
There is no how. It's when a human being experiences loss, there is deep grief. There's no how to deal with anything. When it sets in, and when it goes. But the attempt to try to relieve oneself from it is to perpetuate it.
So what have you learned as you have developed yourself to be with that grief?
I don't try to be with it. That's spiritual again. Doings are so subtle. Prescriptions are so subtle. I never said one should accept it. And I never said one should fight against it. I never said one should be with it. There is no doing. The question that I have is, the people who are here, I'm curious as to why you're here. If you have a response to that question, you can raise your hand. And if you don't have a response to that particular question, please put your hand down.
So the question was, why are you here, correct?
Yes.
Because I see that everything around, there sort of is that knowing that everything around is false.
So I'm asking, why are you in this particular so-called room?
Because reading your work has sort of like some semblance of showing what the truth could be.
I see. Okay.
Hello, doctor.
I'm here because I view you as a mirror that hasn't been shattered, especially like when you're out in public as such in this. And I was here last time, and I enjoyed it, and I'm here again, and I'm enjoying it.
I came in here because I saw Yuna Ardak, and now I'm staying because I just feel so disillusionated.
I didn't quite understand what you said.
Okay. I came in here because I saw Ayuna Arak, and now I stayed here because it is really disillusionating me.
I see. Okay.
Hi. So to answer your question, why I'm here, one of the things is in my life, I've received a lot of prescriptions to be a certain way. And when you say there are no prescriptions, there is no path, it kind of resonated with me deeply. And I've been following you since, and I use every opportunity to talk to you. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Yeah, the reason why I'm here is that there have been a few things that have really resonated with me and have resulted in me making a lot of progress in understanding the truth, or at least I think.
I see.
I've listened to you for a couple of years, and I just there hasn't been any particular event, but I just no longer experience certain things I used to experience, and my life has changed in a lot of material ways, and I've just found that just being around it, the words, I don't know what it does, but something happens.
Very good. Thanks.
I won't speak for everyone else, but I'm here because I'm addicted to prescriptions. And I think earlier you mentioned the concept of drug addicts, and I think that's what I'm fulfilling. And hearing you and saying that not to follow prescriptions, I'm still here for prescriptions, and it continues that way. It's a cycle.
Okay.
Hello, doctor. My question has changed significantly as I listen to other people. Initially, I wanted to ask you, how does one not allow their actions to be dictated by loneliness? Mostly in the context of like starting your own business. That led me to my next question, which eventually became, how does one eliminate thought? Now, you might not have want to give me an answer for either, but if not, like, could you suggest a better question for me to ponder on?
The thing to ponder about, and there was a reason why I asked this question to the audience, is why are you here?
My in my context, I want to pursue material wealth. There's greater purposes for that, but essentially that's what it comes down to. Is I want to start achieving personal success in the form of material wealth.
Okay.
Hi. I joined because I wanted to alleviate my suffering, and I felt like your words sometimes bring solace, although now I can't help but wonder if I'm just chasing the wrong thing. Either way, I enjoy the talk.
Okay.
It is beautiful to see that you're breaking all the spiritual BS. To break all the social BSs and structures, there's a lot of accumulation of beautiful, so-called wonderful spiritual structures. And it's beautiful to see that you're breaking that as well. Very few people break that. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. The reason I'm here is because there are internal questions, as like most of us have, that we're trying to seek answers to, and hope that maybe somebody else's question or my own question would probably like open a door or a window somewhere. And if I may, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, are emotions unnecessary because they cloud the mind and they don't allow you to think rationally?
But it doesn't matter if they're necessary or unnecessary, because your implication is that if I told you they were unnecessary, you wouldn't go and get rid of them. So it doesn't really matter. It's an intellectual question.
I'm here because your responses challenge me, and I think that's how I grow. And I got lucky. I was meditating, and I just came on. I woke up a little while ago. I came on, and I saw your picture and the title. I did not know you before, so I was lucky to fall into this room.
Okay. Thank you.
I thought to answer the question as well. I think honestly, I'm just usually inspired for the most part reading your books and discourses, and also I think it's kind of healthy to have somebody that is just willing to say F the status quo. And I think I kind of, like a lot of people, fall into the habit of whatever being society starting to agree with one thing or another. It's just nice to have, it's very refreshing to hear somebody kind of remind you how things really are.
Okay.
I've just been, I guess you could say, interested in these types of things for a long time. And I guess it's just more window shopping what I'm doing right now. But how do you communicate in language without ideas? Maybe what you say will be planted somehow in me that will grow later. I'm not saying it's happening now. I'm saying, maybe someday.
Perhaps not.
I'm here because listening to you makes me feel calm. That's all.
Okay.
I think I'm here because your words resonate with me, and I feel a more exposure to the truth. And also, I know you say you don't believe in religion, but I feel like your words sort of echo the essence of Eastern spirituality, specifically Sanatan Dharma and Sikh even.
Okay.
Hi, Doctor. I'm here because I find your words have a certain commitment towards truth. And also, I'd like to understand, do you consider yourself a sincere man? If yes, what value has it added in your life? Has it made you more free?
To discuss whether I'm sincere or not, that just doesn't interest me. But thanks.
I am simply here because your words seem to have a sense of purity, and they give me some sort of clarity more than makes me feel clearer, makes my perception feel clearer.
Okay.
I am here because you speak on genuineness, sincerity, and that resonates, especially the rejection of how-tos. And the only person that resonates on that level is Bruce Lee to me. And if I may I ask a question regarding him?
I can't answer questions about Bruce Lee. I don't know. I've never known Bruce Lee.
So I'm here originally. I didn't really know you until I think I stumbled upon a room with you and Naval, or his brother, who I respect a lot, and they spoke of you well. And I think I've been in maybe 2 or 3 rooms, and the only way to explain why I'm still here, or why I keep joining, is I don't know. I get lost in a good way, that I undefine my previous thoughts, I guess. So that's why I'm here.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, I'm actually here because, I actually read Atmaman a year and a half back, and I read your other 2 books as well after that. And your words have this alchemy to them that's, that's hard to explain. And so I'm here just to sort of hear more truths. I kind of wasted my first question on, I think, something a bit general. Like, what I'm actually here to ask was, I'm actually considering moving, countries from India to the UK. Part of the reasons are, independence, better quality air, good infrastructure. And what I really wanted to ask you was that, you spoke about how a person, if he's on the path to truth with respect to his personal life, then he won't feel anxiety. But this move of moving countries is producing some amount of anxiety within me. So, how do I differentiate, as to whether it's a pleasure chase or whether it's coming from a place of truth? It's something that I wanted to do for a few years now. So I was wondering if you have any insight on that.
Well, the reason that you're feeling anxiety is because after the anxiety arose, you're trying to not feel the anxiety.
Honestly, I'm just inspired by your uncompromise, and I just really want what you have.
Okay.
Hello. So initially, I was here
because the idea of like real-time analysis of a bunch of questions was very interesting. But I continue to stay and attend all of these sessions because looking at the questions, just observing the questions, I realized like how repetitive it gets, including mine. And at this point, like I'm not even interested in answers, but like learning to reframe questions and like asking better questions, I guess. Or yeah, that's like that's the activity that I do when people ask questions here, and I share the same questions. But at this moment, like I'm super purely, what is it? Like enthusiastic about reframing question. Like, yeah, like asking, yeah. That's the best way I can verbalize. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, the things that you have noticed about the questions and the desire to refine your questions, that's a very, very insightful observation.
The room randomly by suggestion. I'm just a man who is interested into how the mind works, and then looking at your profile and everything, it interests me and all the questions and answers as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are very few people who know truth, and around me at least, and there are even fewer who speak it, and I like it being here.
Okay.
Hi, I came to ask a question. I stayed because of your reply, and the reason for that was because it helps me understand how not to waste my time.
Okay.
Hi, I've been following your work in Twitter disclosures. I read some of your books also. So I like the clarity and uncompromising responses. And like some other person told here, I like to frame the questions. So I've been framing the questions as you are providing many responses here. I've been framing the questions in my mind, like what to ask you. But to be honest, I mean, after reading your books, I think most of the answers are present in your book. I think it is about self-realization, like what is the true question that I need to ask and how I pursue it. Whatever that I really need to devote my life to.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm here because I'm on a path right now that requires some seriousness from me, and from everything I've followed you for the last couple years, it seemed like it would be a good idea to join this chat. So maybe I could glean something that would help me on this path I'm on.
Okay.
Hi, Doctor. So I am here because I used to feel all the hollowness of the futility of life just by looking up at the stars and realizing how really insignificant we are, and that used to make me feel hollow. Now, through your responses, I feel that accepting that is okay, and that gives me a lot of ease.
Okay.
And I'm here. Okay.
Hey, so I'd say over the past 4 or 5 years, I've been slowly going more and more insane. And a few months ago, I think I realized that the reason was that I expected people to be able to do things to a certain degree within their cognitive faculties, and they weren't able to. And this discrepancy was what drove me mad, and it was only finally realizing the lack of desire toward the particular objects, that their desires were elsewhere, and that was what limited their understanding. And now I see you on Clubhouse, and I sort of binge some of your tweets and a few of the essays, and it seems you're saying exactly the same thing. So it seems this is certainly the place for me to be and to think more about these things.
Okay.
when you asked the question, the answer came immediately without thinking. And I think I'm going to stay with it, although there's been a temptation to edit it. The answer that came when you asked that question immediately was that I'm here because I'm here.
I am here because I've read a lot of Krishnamurti and Alan Watts, and I feel like, you remind me of them with the amazing time that this is, that I'm, able to speak to you in real time. So that's fantastic. And the second reason why I'm here is that I do see myself getting caught in these prescription traps and the collective, set of lies that society is. And when I come here and when I hear you, it reinforces and solidifies my understanding of these prescriptions, and then it helps me identify them much faster and allows me to think clearly.
Okay. I'm here purely, my mind was saying it's because of listening to you directly brings me joy. But having read your 3 books and this question being asked, I guess I'm chasing the prescription. So that's the realization I have while answering this question. Okay.
Just for the last year, I've noticed the frequency of a lot of things I'm doing being futile. It's just getting faster and faster. And so I've been on a binge of different schools of study or different schools of thought around it. And I just feel like as I process and reject or process and adopt parts of different things, different teachers or different people with additional information that I haven't thought of from this angle or that angle, in one way or another, it keeps popping up. Even on Clubhouse today, there was no actual title for this room except for question and possible response, but there's something that pulled me into the room. And then things just seem to be showing up. So that's why.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm here because I'm curious about who you are. And I stumbled upon this app, and you have some pretty intelligent responses. And I can see who you appear to be. I can see this platform. I've briefly glanced over the content, and there's just curiosity on who you are. I don't want an answer. I'm not looking for an answer, but I'm just listening because of that curiosity only.
Okay.
Hi, Kapil. I have felt helpless and inadequate at multiple times in my life whenever life has hit me. I think being in your presence and then hearing your words amplifies that helplessness and inadequacy of not knowing, and it's very hard to articulate the kind of fundamental things that I go through whenever the situation have arisen in my childhood or teenage. I think I'm able to go back to feeling that again in a much more amplified way. So that draws me to this room and to your words again and again.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. So I am here because I listened to your interview with Naval recently, and that's how I found out about you. And after going through things and going through all your discourses and listening to you, what I found was a section or a discourse where you said you don't have what you truly desire because you don't really want it. And I think you also said you have what you have now because you couldn't live without it. And I've had this frustration with my nature. But after hearing that, I recognized it as a truth for sure. And I've, in personal and professional life, been chasing prescriptions. However, I do have a question, although I think I'm learning the answer to it. The question would be, your nature or the big 5, like your agreeableness or your openness or your conscientiousness. If you truly desire something, can you override what theoretically someone may call your ability to intellectually grasp something or to vehemently go after something. Can you override that? And I think the answer is yes, but I wanted to ask still.
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Gupta.
Hello?
Thank you so much for doing this. And the reason why I kept on joining is because something inside of me really resonated with stuff that you were saying, and also your tweets and your writing. But most importantly, I think you mentioned earlier that there's nothing to be learned from other people. But I do believe that I'm learning something from you and how you answer questions and how you are, and the clarity of your answers and your writing. So I am inspired by that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Gupta.
Hello.
So I've been reading and listening to you for the past 3 years, and the only thing that really comes to mind is that the things that you write and the things that you say silences the mind and keeps one invested in truth. So that's why I generally go look up to you.
Okay.
No, in a lot of your books, you always talk about the rare DNA or the rare person. And, for the first time I read it, I didn't think that was true. I guess I was conditioned to believe that, everybody's special and so on and so forth. But I come to this room exactly for that, to see if I get a glimpse maybe of this rare, but I don't. All the questions can be answered with your book alone, per se. I really haven't heard anything that I don't want to call it unique, but you know what I mean, rare, per se. So I keep waiting, I guess.
Okay.
Hello, sorry, I've been going on and off as a speaker, but hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah, the reason I'm here is because in my independent reasoning of all the things that happen around me, I am able to deduce to a certain point, and nobody's going to believe me, but the strongest desire wins is something that I felt as well, and it was one of my tweets, and then I saw your work, and I've been following your work for a really long time. And I just feel like if I'm able to deduce it to the level of, say, atoms, you go 10x further and reduce it to quarks, or like whatever is smaller than that. And that's why.
Okay. Thank you.
So my question is, recommending people to not have a prescription, is that a prescription itself?
Yeah, I don't recommend that anyone not have a prescription.
Gotcha.
If one wishes to look into the futility of prescriptions through their own experiences, then they may, and that really is the only way to see it, rather than just believing what I say.
Thank you very much.
2 reasons why I'm here. The first I would say is your variant perception. I think probably holds for many of the audience and myself. You make people think. And the second one, I wanted to see how many times I could hear people say resonate before 8 a.m. London time.
Okay.
Thank you.
I live in a city, in a school environment, in medical school, and there's nowhere that you can have a true conversation. It's as you've said in your discourses, it's anything is based on instruction or prescription or trying to feel good, and all of those things you discuss. And so it's if something like this comes up on Clubhouse, it's a no-brainer to just jump in, because there's just nowhere else like it in my environment. And outside of that, it is some sort of personal inspiration or some communion with you as a person. And that's another reason why I would say I follow your work.
Okay.
Yeah, I stumbled across this room on one day randomly, and the first thing that I heard you say was, seeing God doesn't do any good. I mean, this was one thing I had fascination since I was child. But then at some point I had this realization that seeing God or pursuing that will not do me any good. It is not going to bring me any peace. And then when I heard that, finally I found someone who actually is saying that. That's when I started following you and reading some of your books now. And then I'm in this room, I can't go away because all the questions people ask, somewhere they resonate with me, not just the answers. I think so. Listening is what gives me a lot of clarity.
Okay.
I met U.G. Krishnamurti long back when he was alive, and he used to have a very similar, not similar, his words were like a heartfelt, touching. Same way I stumbled upon you when Nawal mentioned in Tim Ferriss' interview about you. Then I searched on you on the Twitter and I found, and you were Twitter I followed long time, I think last 2 years, and I read your book and I listened to your podcasts. And somewhere I don't get your things, but on the way of my alone, when I am alone, I just connect your dots, whatever you are saying. It's still hard to understand some cryptic ones, but I think I'm in the path of getting whatever you understanding in the path what you say. So I think that's where I'm interested. And I have two requests to you. You removed your solo podcasts, which were very insightful. Is there any way you can again put it on that's the one request. And another one I have is you say about Musashi and other two in your blog, another two persons who are explorers. Is there any way sometime you make the one session on the how from the beginning, from a sincerity to the arrival, how those persons affected you, like Musashi and
yeah, what I'll say about that, I don't like to speak about myself, so I keep questions to the individuals themselves in order to directly benefit. If it benefits them, it benefits them, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I like to focus on the individual. I don't like to talk about myself. But thank you.
Hello. Yeah. I've been I meditated for many years, and at some point, I came to a realization that it was just meaningless, and I was just playing with the states and thoughts and all that, and then I stopped doing that. But then I thought there is something else, and then kept looking, but I felt that everyone is just giving you all these shared fictions and lies and all that. So I kind of got pissed off, and then last time I saw you here, I saw your name Siddha, and then I thought, oh, here is another scammer again, and then I just came to troll you. But then I started listening to you, and I felt that, oh, this, he's actually not scamming. So and then I saw you again this time, and I felt like, okay, let's listen to him again, and then I stayed. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Siddha, thanks for having me on the panel again. So I believe about a month ago, I saw you on Clubhouse, and you were in someone's room, and they were I believe you and Naval were actually talking. And then I clicked on your profile. I saw you were following 0 people, and I thought that was kind of funny. And then I checked out your Twitter, and then you were following 0 people as well. So I decided to read into your content a bit, and I really like your simplistic approach to life, and it kept me around.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, Kapil. I'm here because through your work I found my insincerity, my lack of desire in many things. So I think that's been pretty and it's something I wasn't expecting to find, but I found it, and it was great. I'm also here because sometimes people ask questions that I didn't know I have, or sometimes you give answers that I just that let me see something else, something new, and then I can explore in my life. So I think that's awesome. And also wanted to mention that, as Ravi said, your podcast on Apple Podcast is not available anymore. So if you can do something about it, that'll be highly appreciated.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I believe I just have another question. I did answer the reason why I'm here. My question is more with regards to knowledge. So far, I feel the knowledge that I've gained, it has been through, you could say, reading, maybe joining podcasts like this. But as you've mentioning that most of it's all prescription based and with regards to everything that I've read, then my question is, where is like the drive to get true knowledge that's not prescription driven? Or like
that's within the individual. If the individual still has an appetite for prescriptions, then that's what he's going to seek.
Hi, Siddha. So this is my first time ever getting to know you or being in a room with you. So I am in the room, or I've stayed this long in the room because I experienced brain surgery and a near-death experience in my 20s. And I really just enjoy deep thinkers, and I enjoy listening to others' perspectives, because I think for me, what it allows is for me to just get to know myself better, as far as just making up my own conclusions on just kind of a bouncing board.
Okay.
Doctor, I'm here because I think my mind was like really foggy, and I was searching for a lot of answers. And my questions. I had a question earlier, and then my questions kept changing. But like the more I stayed, like I think just your presence is giving me clarity, and it's giving me a feeling that just it's pushing me in the right direction, like not logically, but just like I just sense it somewhere. So I'm just grateful to be here, and your presence is giving me that feeling, and that's why I'm here. And I hadn't heard of you before, so thank you so much. Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
Namaste, Dr. Kapil. My answer resonate with previous answers. But now, after listening to you, I realize that you might be an enlightened being, or at least an important soul at an important platform right now. And your work may help me in my journey. In fact, I got few answers to my puzzle today, and thank you for that.
Sure, thank you. Hello?
Yeah, hi. My question is, what is the difference between being driven by something and having a desire of something?
No, it's just semantics.
Hi, Kapil. Thank you for listening. My question is, I find that as I make my own personal journey towards what I deem as progress for myself, the glimpses of the truth help me feel like there is some forward movement.